Hey everybody, thank you for joining me again on the World of Warships Legends. Today we'll be looking at the USS Texas, the second ship in the New York class of battleships and the only remaining example of this sort of ship that actually still exists. If you're down in the Houston area, you can go see it at the San Jacinto Park. I would highly suggest doing that if you're in the area, and of course if you're down there, try to make a donation because apparently the thing is slowly sinking into the harbor. So anyway, as you can see right now, I have the USS Texas up. I have the Texas Alpha. Obviously I played in the alpha test, so I get a fancy camouflage pattern, but functionally this ship is exactly the same as your normal Texas that you can buy in the tech tree, except for the camo. What I will say about the Texas is that functionally, if you're wondering what it's like to play a Texas, you've probably already played it. There are not enough differences between this and the fully upgraded New York to really warrant spending a lot of time on this review. On paper, it has the same hit points, the same armor, and it has the same 356 millimeter main battery in 5 turrets. It's just about as slow, and it's just about as sluggish in a turn. There are really only 2 differences worth talking about it at all. First, the Texas is absolutely bristling with anti-aircraft. As we look in here, you can see them. They're everywhere. It's got Bofors, it's got Orlikins, it's got all sorts of things. Any square inch that they could find to put a gun on this ship, they did. Right now that doesn't make a whole lot of difference since there's no aircraft carriers. If there are any spotting planes that happen to come within a couple of kilometers of you, you will absolutely shoot them down in a heartbeat. But right now this isn't much of a bonus for the Texas. It's just kind of nice, and it's kind of hilarious to look at the ship with all these guns on it. The second and far more useful thing to think about is that the 2 ships have slightly different gun angles. The Texas can get its number 3 gun turret, the one in the middle, to shoot slightly more forward, while the number 4 turret is slightly less well angled when shooting forward. In practical terms, all this really means is that the Texas can present a slightly less vulnerable angle when shooting things in front of it, and the New York can present a slightly less vulnerable angle when shooting things behind it. Alright, get to the game already. We're on estuary, battle starts, good times. The only thing I didn't talk about in harbor, which we're going to have a few seconds to talk about now, is what do you want to put on this ship in terms of its modifications. You have 1 slot. It has 2 choices. You can either increase your turret rotation 15 or while decreasing your reload by 5, or you can throw on a secondary modification which increases your range by 20% and it decreases your dispersion by 20%. Now, I don't particularly like the first option because with a decent commander you can get these turrets whipping around in around 45-47 seconds. If you have that modification, it actually only takes it down another 3 or 4. I didn't think that was really worth it for the increase in reload speed, which was about 1.5 seconds, maybe a little bit closer to 2 seconds, somewhere in that area. The secondary modification is basically useless since this only has 3 secondaries on both sides. However, it doesn't hurt you. So I ended up going for the secondary modification just because it was 200,000 credits. You know, who cares? If you buy the Texas, you're going to make the 200,000 credits back in a couple of games. So not a real big deal if I throw some credits at that sort of upgrade. So anyway, we're joining the battle. We're going to start paying attention to what's actually happening on screen. So far, we haven't had a real big impact on anything. It's still early in the game. We're at a lot of long-range encounters. There's my counterpart, the New York, out there. I'm trying to shoot him, and he's, what, like 14 kilometers away? Ridiculous. The accuracy's okay, obviously. You can hit stuff, but at the same time, you're gonna miss plenty. I'm trying to get a gauge for just about how fast this guy's actually going, using the smoke as an indicator that's coming out of his stack. We underestimated it just a little bit, hit him a little bit far back on the ship. We thought he might have been going quarter speed maybe, but you know, whatever. I guess that's what they call a lagging indicator. This Phoenix is getting a little brave, or maybe just can't quite stop itself in time because it's kind of peeking around the corner here. I think he's going to start to back up, so I put some shells towards his rear. We get a couple of hits, an incapacitation. Not too bad, but we would have really loved to hit his citadel there. I should have been a little bit more aimed further forward. So we managed to take A. That was kind of where I was going to back up. It looks like pretty much most of my team's going that way too. We're taking aim on this New York. It looks like he's kind of looking over here. I'm going to try to sneak in this last shot. Might be a mistake. Overall, I think it's a fairly even trade, but that was largely because he was shooting high explosives. Who knows what would have happened if he was shooting armor piercing. For the most part, in a battleship, you do want to be shooting armor piercing, particularly if you're shooting at another battleship, unless you absolutely know that there's no way you can really over pierce their bow or their superstructure, because you're just going to do, on average, more damage. I'm waiting for that second fire. I go ahead, and there's the second fire. We get out our damage control party. We're healing up, and the fires are out. So this is a pretty solid place for me. I'm taking note of the fact that I'm going to run into this island. At this point, I think I have kind of an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the number of targets that I can shoot at. So, I don't know. Wyoming? I don't know. Maybe? And then we've also got this cruiser. And cruisers are delicious because if you hit them in the citadel, which isn't that hard, it does a billion T damage. So maybe I want to be shooting at him instead. So what you're going to see here is some... I don't really know what I want to do out of TacticAngel because, you know, does not compute. Does not compute. Who do I aim at? This doesn't look like that bad of a shot, but... oh man. Do we miss everything? Yes, the answer is yes, we miss everything. So anyway, Wyoming is a much bigger target. Maybe we can hit it into Citadel. Maybe not. Yes. Okay. Maybe yes. Yes. Here we go. Definitely. By the way, the Wyoming Citadel is basically immediately beneath its bridge. That's the best place to get it, I've found. I know as you watch this and you see me missing a whole bunch of shots, it's like, why should I listen to this guy? But anyway, we got some shots into that Phoenix. Mostly overpens. That's too bad.
The ship is on fire.
But the cruiser behind us takes care of everything for us. Now we're teeing up against the New York. He's not... I would highly suggest anybody watching this video not do this particular thing because he's in the open, broadside to several ships, and not moving. Now he is starting to fix that, but he really does make it an easy shot. And then he just gets lucky that the dispersion there on my last gun is so bad that it just sails both of them high. With the immediate threat out of the way, I go ahead, I put out the fires again. No reason burning down with 2 fires if you can put them out. And for the most part in a battleship, unless you're kind of low on health, probably don't want to be putting out a single fire at a time, because you will find yourself sadly in situations where there are several fires on your boat. So things are going pretty poorly for our team here. I actually thought, which one of these videos do I want to put up? I had 3 choices, one which was hilariously short because I literally citadeled everything, but I didn't want to put that up because it would give you a wrong impression about what this boat can do. Sometimes you get lucky, you know, the RNG works out for you, but sometimes you don't. And in this case, we're going to really work for whatever the result of this game is. And right now it looks like our team is cruising towards a loss. The one that I didn't show had some really great teamwork, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't upload it, but there was some lag issues in it, and I didn't want you to get the impression that either I was doing something that I shouldn't have been, or that the servers are like that usually. I've really only had problems in one game, and that was the game, and I really liked that game because I had some good teamwork. Teamwork's where it's all at. So anyway, we're here, we're reacquiring some targets. We got the Omaha way out there. That gives you a pretty good understanding of what's going to happen in terms of dispersion. A lucky shot hits their citadel. The other 3 completely miss. That is an American battleship for you all day. But sadly, we've used all of our heals, and so the hit points that we have are the hit points that we're going to have to make work. We see 2 ships moving towards our last point on the map, which honestly isn't really necessary for them to get. They could easily coast on to victory, and really that's probably the smart thing to do. It doesn't make for a real interesting match, but it's the smart thing to do. We have been detected by that pesky aircraft. If we get close enough to it, we are going to annihilate it, but you know, we got to get close to it. Got a Danaean in sight. We're really hoping he comes around the corner, because I usually like to sing "Oh Dene Boy" to these Danaes that are sailing broadside to me, since they are such delicate flowers. In any case, he thinks, well, or he thinks better of running around that corner. Instead, we have an Omaha who's presenting himself with no health whatsoever. We aim about 5 seconds in front of him, and boosh. No boosh. Oh, that's disappointing. Now we kind of feel like we're out in the middle everywhere with our pants down around our ankles. It's 2-on-1. That spotter plane is still making sure that everybody knows exactly where I'm at. Not super. But where is that Phoenix? Surely he's hiding, right? He's got to hide, because otherwise he's just going to get annihilated. So I figure that if I got detected, it was probably from the other battleship out there, and not the Omaha coming around that corner. But I'm wrong from time to time. And that was a mistake. Probably wouldn't have come around that corner myself. Now it's 1-on-1. Now, once again, the wise thing to do if you're on the enemy team is to run away. Because, look, he's almost 200 points ahead of me. And the only way that I win is if I cap all these bases. Literally all of them at this point is what I would need. I'm simply not fast enough to do that. And that's kind of one of the frustrating things about playing a battleship. You're not fast enough to really change the course of these capture A, B, C, and D sort of games. But as it turns out, he's spoiling for a fight, and I wouldn't blame him. The Orion's a good ship. I enjoy that ship quite a bit. Unfortunately, he's a little bit overconfident in his angling against me, which is to say he is giving me the broadside of his ship, and I am slightly better armored than him, and I'm not giving him the broadside. As you see, he hits me several times, no damage. American battleships, pretty well armored if you're going to hit their sides. Here we go. We're putting some more shells out there. At this point, the nature of the game has actually changed, because now I am actually ahead of him. We're actually up to 120,000 damage, which is pretty darn impressive. That's more than enough to kill 2 battleships. And even if those battleships had healed a significant amount, it's still more than enough to kill 2 battleships at this tier. We're kind of hoping that he can get his shots off first, honestly. There you go. Now I can swing around the back end, but my first salvo from the front batteries actually finish him off. We get a nice, well-earned victory there. 254,000 units. We get a couple of ribbons. There we are at the top of the list. Pretty good. Do you want to buy the Texas? You know, not a bad ship if you like the New York. Thank you for listening to this review. See you on the next one.